few years since you made the transition from playing into full-time business role. Just reflect on these last few years and everything that you've become involved in and what it's been like to transition from player to businessman.
Well, I think it's been to me a fun road, one that I try to enjoy every day of the ride. Really taking every moment as they come. Don't rush the process and be open-minded to learn as I go through the process. Realizing as you transition from on the field or off the field that it's going to be adjustment periods and you got to be willing to make them. But you got to have fun doing it. To me, I know football was just a small part of what God had in store for me for a bigger part of my life, and I just try to keep it in perspective. So I do my best to make good decisions, stay as healthy as I can, and be open to learn as much as I can as I do transition in the life away from football.
You wondered if, I'm sure when you were playing, what is going to happen when I'm not able to play anymore? Am I going to miss the game? How much is it going to affect my life? How has that
Well,
transition?
you try to prepare, and I had that thought process. Am I really going back to 1991 when I decided to go to Florida State? My decision was strictly based on where would I go to school if I did not play one down of football, and that was Florida State to get the best education I could
Right.
because it was the closest to Pensacola.
Yeah.
So, and you come full circle. So I think as long as I've kept that perspective, again, I think, going down that path, you open to learn, but, you don't be afraid of it. You do the best you can to prepare for the situation, and, whether it's by injury, whether it's by retirement, you still got a life to live. So you try to prepare yourself educationally, relationship-wise, to be in the best position you can to live the rest of your life.
How have you applied the same principles that you brought as a player into all the business endeavors that you're doing?
Oh, mental toughness.
Hmm.
Knowing every decision's not going to be the right decisions. How do you correct or wrong? You don't point the finger. You self-evaluate every single day, and you don't get outworked. You make sure you do your preparation. Now, with all that said, you still got to go out and compete. Competition is never going to leave you, and that's one of the things I've learned is more competitive off the football field because now you got more competition. When you're on the field, you can see it. You
Right.
see it week in and week out, and you give certain advantages to yourself. But when you're part of the business world, you're amongst millions of people that's competing to do the same thing. So you got to put yourself in the best position you can to compete, and you can't be afraid of competition.
Now, you're around kids with your charter high school,
Picking Wilson them up.
and mhm. you're,
They picking you up.
you're around kids with your high school, and you're around football players with the Arena League. What about how you've related to both? Two different things. You're trying to educate young kids. You're trying to coach or motivate young football players. What about both of those roles?
I think for me, I don't try to combine them. When you're dealing with kids, as much as it's inspiration and teaching, you gotta show some love. You gotta show some care, and they see through it.
Hmm.
If you're not innocent and you're not true, they're gonna see it. They're gonna see right through it. And for me, I always have an open communication with the kids to let them know that this is not false chatter. When I tell you I care, I care. When I tell you my no is no, is no. And I just be brutally honest with kids. At the same time, I show them as much love as I can and encouragement. In my role as front office, I'm more of an evaluator. And that's the growth process you go through when I'm running a football team is I'm constantly in evaluation mode, and everything I do gets evaluated, and I got to make a lot more decisions. With kids, you put them on a path, you give them a direction, and you see how they're going to go, and then you help them as they go. But in my role as president of the Storm, it's really about making decisions day in and day out, whether it's about talent on the football field or business or marketing plan or ticket promotion.
Right.
I'm involved with it all. So I just had to get used to making more decisions than I've made in the past, and at the same time, get used to running someone else's organization. In all my business endeavors, I've always been, owner of my own business. But when you're working for someone else and you got to make those decisions with other things in mind, it does give you a different perspective.
Well, it was a wonderful opportunity presented itself with become president, general manager of Tampa Bay Storm. Has it whetted your appetite even more if you you know enough now that if an opportunity comes in the NFL to be an executive, you feel like is this something you might want to do down the road?
Well, Bill, you know my attitude. I'm gonna be the best I can today, and then I'm gonna max out tomorrow if I'm blessed with it. And that's what I want to do. I want to be prepared for whatever opportunity comes my way. But I can't rush that preparation. I got to go through where I'm at now, and I put myself on this path to go through this learning process, and that's what I'm gonna max out doing. You know, I'm not afraid to make mistakes because I know I'll be the first to admit it and get in there to correct it. At the same time, you do forecast and say, hey, where is this going to take me? But for me, I just ask the question, and then I say I'm gonna be prepared for wherever it takes me. So if that opportunity presents itself, I'll evaluate it at that time. I'll pray over it for perspective, and we'll move on. But right now, I'm just trying to be the best executive I can for the Tampa Bay Storm.
Reflect a little bit about what Pensacola's meant. You were at this thing as at Washington High one day. I mean, what does this mean to you to be the guest speaker and kind of celebrate a great year again for the sports community here in Pensacola?
Well, I've come full circle, you know, to sit up here and win the PSA Scholastic Award to now being inducted through the PSA in the Pensacola Hall of Fame. You know, I'm quite sure we have many athletes that have done that here before, but for me, I just look at a full circle of what the last 20 years have been, and there's not enough camera time to tell you what Pensacola means to me, but I'll just simply say this: I'm very humble that my hometown has decided to make me part of this history. I have the same feeling now as I had when they unveiled that I was going to be part of the airport mural. You know, permanently indebted and permanently in Pensacola celebrated one of the citizens. But tonight, my speech is all about thankfulness. You know, I'm very grateful and thankful to Pensacola. At the same time, you know, I'm going to challenge us, you know, to step up and be more involved and reach not for the next Derrick Brooks, but reach for the next whomever that's going to come and be a bigger part of what I am in Pensacola. I know some young athletes in this town, some young businessmen and women in this town that's ready to make the same impact that I'm trying to do. So as we celebrate, you know, my past, my speech is more about looking forward and challenging us moving into the future.